So I'm just really interested in that part of your brain that went, even at those early doors where you went, this doesn't feel right. So I'd love to just get a sense of that.
Mm.
What
And I
was it?
think I would emphasize that for me it was a personal experience. I didn't
Hmm.
mean that this doesn't feel right in terms of, well, everybody else has got it wrong and I'm right. It was simply I don't see myself being able to make the compromises that it seems that I've contracted to do, and it feels as if I'm being paid here, not necessarily to do what to me would seem the right thing, but actually instead to do what is viewed to be um, do things right according to the rules. And for me, very early on, there just seemed to be this difference between what felt right at a values level, at a sense level, at a common human kind of, well, this just seems a good way of having some doing some joint work, compared with, well, no, this is the way it has to be done for all sorts of reasons that often remained opaque or invisible to me. And so it was a tension there that I held that I couldn't make sense of, didn't make sense of. Only at that point, the only sense I could make was, well, I'm the problem. And that's, I mean, now with all my grey hair and my 30 years plus experience, that sounds so naive, but I was naive. And also I could have probably handled the whole thing altogether better, but I didn't have the skills to do that at the time. So, it's all this learning with retrospect. However, the reason I mention it is just because it kind of was the first chapter in what ended up being a bit of a pattern.
But I think it's massively important to recognise. I did have a radar. There was an alarm bell that went off, and it's not about judgment or whatever. It's something didn't feel right, and that's okay, isn't it? And sometimes you get that radar that especially when you're young, you're not calibrated, so something may not feel right, and then you might learn, oh, it is me, and I do need
Yeah.
to adjust. And I am
And
the I am
there were aspects
yeah.
that I was contributing to the problem. And I totally get that. And I work with people and leaders on that even
Mm,
now.
yeah.
Um, However, it was just such a damaging experience to me at the time that I couldn't glean the learning for some time, because I had to heal. I had to recover from
Yeah.
the utter shock of basically being told to leave
Yeah.
on the basis
Uh,
of having asked a question about patient safety and
yes.
values.
And I think that is good to recognize that actually you may ask a question, but actually the right manager would have gone, where's that coming from? What haven't I understood? Or they could be curious and they might go, okay, I get your position. Let me be double clear about why I'm saying this. And you go, okay, been put back in my box, but I was listened to all the way through to, do you know what? Bugger me, you may be right. Or who knows? Who knows? But of course, there is a way, isn't there, of dealing with and engaging with people, even when you're saying no or whatever it is. So, but I think it's fascinating that you have the instinct. I think it's fascinating. I think a lot of people have the instinct. I think some people have the instinct and they haven't calibrated it, and they just think they're right constantly because they feel a certain way. But actually, it's that ability to have that calibrated so you then become better at. I did feel like that before, but actually it turned out I was wrong. Or no, I had that feeling before, and that definitely tells me something.